Joining me now is grappling superstar and one championship fighter, Kade Ruotolo, who's preparing for his second pro MMA fight. Kade, man, how's it going? How's life treating you?
Doing great, brother. I appreciate the intro. Yeah, life's been really good. Just finished up some training here at Tenori headquarters. So, yeah, I'm going great.
You got your second MMA fight on the books. I guess we were supposed to see you grapple. You got hurt in one championship, but now you're back in the MMA world. So can you talk to me about being presented with this opportunity, and ultimately why did you decide now is the time for your second fight?
For sure, yeah. My body's still pretty banged up, to be honest with you. I still definitely gonna get through this last one and just take the rest of the year off and recover. Some much needed rest. But I've only, like you said, you just made the one MMA debut. This is gonna be the second, and the main thing I really wanted to gain was MMA experience. There's the only way to do that is to get out there and fight. With that being said, my body's probably not at 100%, but I need to get it done anyways. I just felt like I need to get the experience through and, come back next year strong, so I wanted to get one more done before the end of the year.
Yeah, and your debut, for people that missed it back in June, first round submission, you made it look easy. Were you still able, though, to having gone through that process, to take a lot away that you're maybe changing this time around or doing anything differently, or is it just kind of sticking to the same recipe that got you the win the first time?
Yeah, very, very similar recipe. That last fight, the finish ended up coming towards the end of the first round. However, I felt like I seen windows to, I felt like off the first exchange, to be honest, I could have gotten a hold of him and got him down and got the submission. With that being said, though, I really wanted to just gain that experience in there, and understand what it's like to block kicks, block punches, so much different than a jiu-jitsu match, obvious, So I wanted to just gain that experience in there. And same thing with this match. I'm definitely not going to look to just grapple him right away. I don't want it to feel like a jiu-jitsu match. I want to gain the experience in the octagon, and that way, when down the line when I'm fighting for the belt and I'm in a real war, I'd already been through some of those scraps for sure.
And how do you, when you discuss with one championship kind of which direction you're going in for your fights, I mean, how do you pace yourself, right? Because your first fight, you fought a guy that was 2-1. It seems like, a fighter that's debuting 0-0 versus 2-1 makes sense. Now you're fighting a 10-4 guy. So it's a big jump up in experience. How have you, or I guess, what are you mapping out for yourself in terms of getting to the championship level? Do you feel like you can go in an accelerated pace given your skill set?
Yes, yeah. To be entirely honest with you, like in the most humble way possible, I'm a very mentally strong person, in a sense where, like, if you were to take the champion in the division and tell me if you were to fight him tomorrow, how would you do? I feel like I'd get the W. But it's not really so much about skyrocketing straight to the top as much as it is gaining those experiences. For me and my coaches, that's one thing that they're really big on. They really want me to have as many experiences possible before I really do get the belt, because I'm definitely obviously green when it comes up to the MMA world, and there's a lot of variables, a lot of things to learn. So every day I'm learning so much. That's why I love it so much. It's been a long time since I learned something every single day, and it's just refreshing. So yeah, with that being said, our coaches are really just big on the experience, and that's the goal. So really, anyone aside from the champ, and we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, and for people that aren't familiar, your grappling credentials are crazy. You've had great success. You've won all sorts of world championships. So I guess for you, what's the biggest incentive doing this, man? Is it just the personal challenge? Is it trying to become the best in two different combat sports? Like, what is it that gets you up and says, that grappling stuff's cool, I can make a lot of money, but let me try the MMA stuff as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was a question that I couldn't even answer, honestly, a year ago. But this year, I finally, at the beginning of the year, I was really almost not lost, but I didn't exactly understand what I wanted to be known for, as far as legacy goes. And I was really sitting back thinking. It was actually when I found God, I started going to church a bit, and it really kept me, helped me as far as clarity goes. And I realized, like, I'm not just trying to become the best at jiu-jitsu. I really decided I wanted to become one of the best martial artists of all time. In order to be one of the best martial artists of all time, you got to do it all, right? Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, MMA, striking, boxing, all these different martial arts, So that's really my goal. My coach, Eric Paulson, he's a true martial artist. He knows everything, every type of Jeet Kune Do, jiu-jitsu, boxing, wrestling. He knows it all, and I want to be like him for sure. He's a big inspo to me. So that's the goal, is to become a full martial artist. And I feel like in jiu-jitsu, I've gotten to the top of the mountain. the most humble way possible. I've come, my brother and I, we've pretty much accomplished everything you can in jiu-jitsu. So with that being said, the next big mountain is MMA. It's obviously a huge mountain to climb, a lot of tough scraps along the way, but that's where I want to be.
And how do you balance it going forward in terms of frequency too? Like, are you leaning more into MMA stuff now? Like, I think it's a little bit of a different world, right? Like MMA, most fighters only fight like twice a year. Grappling, you might be able to do a little bit more. So how do you balance that and kind of decide which is going to be your next challenge? Is it just about what opportunities present themselves?
Pretty much more or less whatever opportunities present themselves. There's always like a few that we lock in no matter what, right? Like either it's CGI or ADCC. And as far as we got our one championship belts that we always have to defend, right? So once we lock in those dates and defend the belt, get the big ones out of the way, the rest is pretty much for MMA, and that's how it's been at least this past year. This next year, I'm kind of shifting my focus a lot more towards MMA. That's been one of my main goals. Still want to continue to defend my grappling title. I still want to be at the top in jiu-jitsu, but I also want to be at the top in MMA, and there's only one way to do that.
Yeah. Ideal 2025. How many times do you want to compete in MMA?
Ideally 2025. If I can get a bare minimum of 3, that would be awesome. If I could get 3 MMA scraps in and still defend my jiu-jitsu belt, I think that'd be a really active year, and I'd be super stoked to get that done.
Yeah, and obviously you got this challenge in front of you first. Ahmed Mujtaba, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
Do you study like your opponents at all, or is it kind of not even matter? Like, I think you're so good at what you do. Does it really matter what they present to you?
I've seen a clip or two. My previous competitor, I was studying a lot more. I think there's a little more nerves and it was my first MMA fight, of course. So we were doing, trying to tick every box. This time around, of course, watched a couple clips just to kind of see what his go-to punches are and things like that. But honestly, the most the focus has been on me as far as what I'm going to do. Just trying to build as much as I can, as many weapons as I can on the feet. That way, my opponent's not just worried about the grappling, and when he is worried about the feet, bring it back to the grappling.
Cool. I can't wait to see it. You mentioned, you said you're not kind of at 100%. That the injury that knocked you out of the Mikey Musumeci match, is it something that you think just with time will heal, or are we looking at any sort of like surgeries or anything?
I hope so. It's funny because I've talked to 2 people that did the same injury, and I got 2. They gave me 2 completely different types of advice, complete opposites. One person goes, "No, get the surgery now because if you don't get it, it's going to tear all the way through." And then someone told me, "No, don't do surgery. Do like whatever stem cells and just let it heal naturally because then the surgery you're out for a year, right?" So, it's kind of torn in between. I got 2 torn labrums at the moment each hip, so just got to figure that out. Right now, I'm kind of more leaning towards just I don't want to take a year off. That's not really an option for me, right? So more so in the just try to recover it, and that's why this is going to be my last one for this year.
Yeah. Do you hope that you and Mikey end up getting rebooked at some point? I know a lot of people are looking
Oh,
forward to
I
that.
know we will for sure, for sure. That's a match that has to go down. I was bummed when it canceled or when I had to pull out. After CGI, I felt like a train. After every competition, looking back, we definitely shouldn't have made it for like the weekend after or whenever it was. Because after every big competition like that, we're just blown out, either it's ribs or hips or whatever it is, right? So, yeah, I felt like a train had hit me. And the thought of getting back on another flight, getting to Denver and doing it all over again, I just couldn't do it. My hips were blown. So it's a match that I definitely, we both, I'm sure we want. And I think this is my goal is next year. I'm focusing on MMA, but really the only 2 guys that I want in jiu-jitsu is Levi and Mikey. Not so much I want Mikey for Mikey, but it's more so for the fans' sake. A lot of people were bummed to see that one fall out, so I really just want to return the favor and get it going again.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Good luck in your MMA fight. Kind of last question. What do you think? Somebody tunes into this fight you got coming up here. What are they going to see happen?
I think there's 110% going to be a finish without a doubt, and it's not going to be me, I hope. But yeah, I think we hit some solid strikes. Who knows? Maybe try to clean him off on the feet. If that doesn't happen, take him down and get the submission. No matter what, though, within the first 2 rounds, I think it'll be over for sure.
All right, there he is, Kade Ruotolo. He fights November 8th, one championship, 169 over in Bangkok. Kade, appreciate the time, man.
Of course, anytime. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.